Virtual worlds have no limits, right? You can go anywhere. It can be any kind of environment. Only the imagination basically sets boundaries. The environment role is to set the framework for the story, to subconsciously tell and get the emotion across that you'd like the player or the actor or the viewer to experience. We're using depth, we're using space, we're using light. All of these tools are used to tell the story exactly the same way that a Renaissance painter would do. In an environment, all the smaller objects are there to inform the player or the viewer of what we call the tertiary story, the background story, the story that's not being told by words. Often in a setting, we'll have background characters, just as the Renaissance painters did. And we'll use them to tell a story or to guide the eye. So a person will cross the screen in order to lead the eye exactly where you want the player or the viewer to see, right? So in a sense, you can say we often use the camera as well as the background characters to sort of guide the eye through the space. As with Crivelli, nothing is incidental, everything is planned. That's how these things are created, nothing is left to chance. I think when you look at the Venusti picture and look at the setting of, for instance, Nero's palace, then you can see a lot of similarities, right? I mean, we have the columns, the space, we use the same sort of depth of field, we use the same kind of vertical composition because we want to emphasize greatness, right? We want to emphasize scale, we want to emphasize almost a superhuman or a godly presence, right? So what he does is create very vertical space, right? To sort of constantly remind the viewer to look upwards, to get a sense of the grandeur of something larger than life. The development process starts very much like when you do a movie. We start with sketches, we start with brainstorming, talking through the ideas. Then we move into loose concept sketches, where we kind of sketch out and feel for it. We settle down on our artistic style. With Ryse, Son of Rome, we very early on decided that we wanted to make something that looked Roman, but uniquely Roman. So we merged Art Deco into the style of classical Roman. Then once we've decided on the style, then we go to more finished renders. Then we go to what's called white boxing, which is actually building almost like with Legos. You build sort of the environment up and make sure that it fits the camera, fits the player path. And then lastly, once we've decided on that and it works for the gameplay as well as for the cinematics, then we decide to actually texture, render, and finish up the environment, adding light, of course, and final polish at the end. Obviously, as the art director, I'm just a representative of an incredibly talented and diversified team of lighters, 3D modelers, compositors, builders, a whole bunch. Just like a Renaissance master would have a whole studio of people helping him, it actually works very much in a similar way, the way we do it now in the computer games industry.